So after wasting a lot of my own hard-earned money and testing, I was finally able to crack a Google search ad campaign structure, which allowed me to scale this search campaign right here to over $86,065.23 per month in revenue. And I've been able to develop this perfect structure, which works regardless of the industry or niche your brand is in. So if you're looking for that breakthrough when it comes to Google search campaigns, you'll probably find it here. The way Google search campaigns works is it's very similar to the shopping ad side of things. There's an auction that takes place in the back end in the millisecond that it takes for Google to come up with the search. So for example, if you're selling 3D printers and you search up the keyword 3D printer on Google, within that millisecond that it took to load things up, it went through an auction basis. There were different competitors, different kind of search listings that went into this auction. And then from there, whatever won was basically what ranked number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. So this auction is determined by something called the quality score of your Google search ad as a whole. It determines how you win in the auction, and the quality score is defined by the landing page experience plus the bids plus the budget plus the expected CTR. And then what combines all of this is the Google ad strategy which you have running for the search campaign. So keep in mind, auction basis is how search campaigns work. You need to be working with the auction to try to win this auction. But the way to win this is basically by creating winning search campaigns. Now, I see so many brands out there who think that winning with Google search campaigns is all about creating an ad copy filled with a bunch of text, which is filled with a bunch of keywords and just a very, very big ad copy. This is far from the truth, because all this ends up doing is it just ends up making your ad appear like just one another big block of text compared to the other ad copies coming up. And again, going back to the 3D printer example, a winning ad copy with Google Ads, it's not something that is the same for every single brand, because with some niches, the competitor search campaigns might be very small. Like for example, in the 3D printer niche, we can see that these competitor search campaigns are fairly small. They don't have too much text in them. They're fairly straightforward and to the point. So in a niche like this, what will work better for you in terms of search ad creative is something that's bigger, something that takes up a lot more space, and something that has a little bit of more personal feel to it. Because when we read these kinds of search campaigns that come up here with these search ad copies, what we see is a bunch of technical details, a bunch of technical text. You want to always be trying to do the opposite of your competitors, especially when it comes to the search ad copies, because that is what makes your ads stand out compared to the other brands that are also ranking for the same keyword. But the third and most important thing you need to understand is what kind of a brand should you be running to even run these search campaigns. Now, it doesn't matter if you are in more of a technical niche like the 3D printer niche, or if you're selling clothing, or if you're selling some kinds of fashion accessories, or you're selling household products. Search campaigns are going to work for you if there is search volume for the keyword you're targeting. Now, in this situation, the keyword isn't that broad. It's a 3D printer, which yes, is kind of broad on its own, but it's targeted towards a specific type of printer, which is a 3D printer. So if you have keywords like these, which are a little bit more targeted, then search campaigns should be working for your brand. I know this because we work with so many brands under my Google Ads agency or marketing, which are running search campaigns, and they're in a variety of different niches and industries where you might not even have thought that search campaigns could work for them. Which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go on to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But with that, let's now go over the strategy of the approach which made us make $86,000 in revenue every 30 days with this search campaign right here, which, by the way, is a dynamic search campaign. Now, in terms of a dynamic search campaign versus a collection based versus a product specific based, for this brand, we have tried it all, and we've been running this search campaign here since about 2019 for this brand. So it's been quite some time now that this brand has been running with search campaigns. We've tried collection based, we've tried again DSAs, we've tried product page specific, and what we have found is collection based has worked time and time again. I mean, if we look in just the last 90 days for this brand, we can see that overall the specific ad group within this DSA campaign has been working wonders for this brand, and we're running at a fairly high target ROAS here. But basically, the reason why I prefer dynamic search campaign is because it uses Google's internal algorithm, and it uses the data you already have within your ad accounts to go after specific pages which it thinks that are going to get more sales, because it's so smart, especially if you already have previous data. So I don't like to do the guesswork. I don't like to guess if this collection was going to work versus this product page. And with search campaigns, you can end up wasting a lot of money doing that, which is what I did when I started. But the approach here is fairly simple. If we go inside this ad group, the way to set it up is essentially by targeting each individual category within one ad group. So if you look right here, you see all of these different subcategories and sub ad groups, which we're targeting 275 in total. And that's because all of these are targeting a specific type of product. So let's say you run a baby niche store. What you should be doing is for each category that you're targeting, you should be targeting a specific type of baby product. Like for example, baby diapers versus a baby pacifier versus a baby crib, so on and so forth. Basically, that's kind of it for targeting. We're really not doing anything else besides just targeting the individual categories. Now, in terms of targeting, this is where things get interesting. So first and foremost, of course, this is going after cold traffic. That's the main goal, which we wanted to do, which is to get cold traffic. But we have added in audience segments to make its life easier for it to know exactly who to go after. So if you look right here, we can see that we have added two different types of audience segments mostly, and you could actually even say three. First one, in market segments. Second one, custom combination segments, and then finally we also have website visitors. So these three are the main ones that we are running in here. Basically, we're trying to also go after newer things such as affinity segments nowadays, but all we're trying to do is we're trying to start with the retargeting side of things, introducing some customer lists, some website visitors, and then we're doing it on an observation basis first. So if you're just starting this approach, you don't want to go crazy like we did here and add all four of these. You should start with website visitors or a customer list first and just kind of get the ball rolling with some observation-based audiences, because what Google will do then is it will use these audiences to find more people similar to that, which is exactly what you want. And if you look right here, we can see that overall, in terms of the conversions, nowadays we are starting to get more and more conversions from others, but in the start, most of these were the customer list ones and then the affinity segments, followed by website visitors, which got the most sales here. So you want to start with the retargeting side of things on an observation basis, of course. From there, you should be focused on the ad copy. Now, if you look right here, all of these are paused. There's only one ad copy running. And again, that's the beauty of a dynamic search campaign. You don't need to have 50 different ad copies. You could just have one, and the titles and the URLs are dynamically generated. So you don't have to provide them at all. But what you do need to provide is the actual description. So if you look right here, you can't read this, but essentially what our descriptions are just full-on generic overviews of the brand itself, because this isn't a specific niche. We're just talking about how this is the go-to place for this specific niche. Whether you're in this type of category or that type of category in terms of this niche, they can still find the perfect product for them here, which is exactly what we're talking about. And with that, now we move on to the final part of setting up a properly set up dynamic search campaign, which is the settings. Now, I believe the way you set a dynamic search campaign up is what will determine whether you get sales or not. First and foremost, you want to make sure you're targeting only one location and you are not targeting any other search networks, because in my experience, at least, I've seen these other search networks just waste a lot of money, and it's not necessarily needed if your main goal is to remain profitable and scale. But what I will say is you want to add a target ROAS in that's, number one, based around the data your ad account has already gotten, but is, number two, also kind of strong. Basically what that means is you don't want to go after something that's too on the lower end, because all that will do is it will make things difficult for your brand to consistently achieve a profitable level of scale. You want it to be where it's on the upper level of your target ROAS value. So let's say you break even at a 3x, your main goal is a 5x, and your account has been achieving between a 4x to a 6x. You want this ROAS to be maybe 550% or 600% on the upper level, so that the algorithm knows that it needs to have high standards if it wants to be, continue running, and if it wants to continue eating up your ad spend on this campaign right here. But that's pretty much it to the setup itself. There's nothing else beyond that. But again, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But I want you to check out this video right here on some tips and tricks for search campaigns, which you can implement with this strategy right here to scale your brand massively.